Tolerant is an adjective that means willing to endure others' perhaps bad habits, bad behavior. I'm tolerant of his rudeness. Religious tolerance, of course, is famous. That is, in a pure sense, I tolerate other religions than my own. I tolerate, next word. Torture, noun and verb. Verb is, I guess, more important. He was captured by the enemy and tortured for information, but he did not reveal what he knew. In a looser sense, it's a torture noun. It's a torture to wait for mail, let's say, that you are expecting and that does not arrive. Transaction, a business transaction normally is a deal. Transaction is a nice word for deal. All Latin. Transcribe is to write from one surface to another surface. To transcribe some event, though, becomes to write about it. Okay, transitory, lasting only briefly. Life is transitory. Happiness is transitory. Love is transitory. Pleasure is transitory. Fleeting, passes away quickly. Translucent, admitting light. It's the opposite of opaque, which we had yesterday, I think, or the day before. Opaque, if something is opaque, it does not admit light. If it's translucent, it does. To transmit is to send across. Transcribe by writing, transmit by some other medium. Television transmits some events, sends it across the air. Transparent, one can see through it. Now, something is transparent, glass is transparent perhaps, but his efforts to conceal his true intentions were transparent. That is, we could see through them. To transpose is to put across. Again, the prefix trans means across, transatlantic, transpacific. To transpose is to move over from one place to another. Transpose, not very used. Traverse is to cross. To traverse the ocean, cross the ocean. Tread is to walk on, maybe softly, maybe in a somewhat almost violent way. Tread on something. To tread on the rights of others is to walk on those rights, violate them. Tremendous just means very impressive. Trespass as a verb, if I trespass on the property of other people, I walk on it or touch it even without their permission. In the Lord's Prayer, which you should all learn, whether you're Buddhist or nothing, or that is, have no religious attachment, or Christian, you should learn the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses. Our trespasses are our sins, we would say, violations of other people's, or of laws. A trial is a legal procedure or proceeding which tries, T-R-Y, tries me for some crime perhaps. Tribulation, good word to avoid because it's so destroyed by the cliche trials and tribulations. Recognize it, and in fact recognize it as a cliche. I think you know the word cliche. Must know that word. Tribulation, never use trials and tribulations. Never. use tribulations alone, that might be a little impressive. A tribulation is a misfortune, an upheaval in one's life. Tributary. Tributary can be a river, streams that are tributaries to a river which flows into the ocean or the sea. Countries may be tributaries of other countries, if in the past anyway. Korea was a tributary for a while, I think, of China. That is, they had to pay some tribute. Not much used except historically. Trifling, insignificant. Some trifling amount of money. Insignificant. Trite. Cliches are trite. Trite is an adjective, though. Cliché is a noun. If something is trite, that means it's said over and over again, or it's commonplace, lacking originality entirely. Trivial, trifling, insignificant. Triviality. I was shocked by the triviality of his objections, by the triviality of his thinking. He thought on such a low, childish level, or enslaved to the public media, kind of. Tropical, associated really with the South Pacific, tropical island in the tropics. I'm not sure what the tropics means, but the South Pacific, Tahiti, etc. Truancy. Truancy is the violation of some small rule, especially of punctuality. He was truant too often. That means he skipped school. Because of his truancy, he was expelled or suspended from school. Two different things. To be suspended has to spend some time away from school. Expelled cannot return. Truce, an agreement to cease fighting. North and South Korea never signed a treaty at the end of the war. In 1953, there was a truce and then an armistice. They just agreed to stop fighting. Tumult, upheaval, implying lots of noise too. The Tumult and the Shouting was the title of a famous book 60 years ago. Turmoil, disorder. My stomach is in turmoil. I ate too much or badly. Society is in turmoil. The stock market is in turmoil. Disorder. Twinge. A twinge of conscience. I picked up $1 or manun from the sidewalk. No one saw me, but I looked around with a twinge of conscience. That is, I felt a little guilty. Not a lot. Typical, ordinary, commonplace. The typical American does this or this. The typical Korean does this or this. On a typical day, one does this or this. Tyrant is a man, usually, who has control of some government, usually, without legally and legitimately arriving at that power. Ulcer is a sore inside, usually a stomach ulcer, a sore that is agitated and exacerbated by some kinds of food, so that the person who has an ulcer, a stomach ulcer, must follow a diet and so forth. Unabridged. To abridge something is to shorten something. And so the dictionaries love to say that their dictionaries are unabridged, not shortened. I'm never sure what that means, and what they mean is just a sales kind of word, I think. Presumably it means that they even include obscenities, some Latinisms and foreign language isms, not shortened. the unabridged version of a movie, uncensored, unanimous, of one soul, of one mind. The vote was unanimous. War, or the vote was unanimous. Let's go on strike or something. Unceasing, a better word really is incessant. I think maybe we had it though. Incessant, unceasing, never stopping. To cease is to stop. Good word. To undo his mischief undoes, or undid, let's use the past, our efforts that had cost us days. That is, not destroyed, but undid, almost destroyed what it took us a long time to do. Unicorn, mythical animal with one horn, interesting in Christian culture, legend, symbol of purity, but violence too. Unique, one of a kind, good word, don't overuse it. And we should not say very unique. A thing is either unique or not unique. A person too. Very unique, impossible. Unkempt, my hair perhaps, not combed. Generally it means disorderly, but strictly speaking it means not combed. Untimely, happening at the wrong time. His return home was untimely. The storm is untimely. A comment is untimely. Happening at the wrong time. Bad timing. Upright, like erect. Standing upright. Man, homo erectus, stands upright. Urban, opposite of rural, we've had urban having to do with city. Urban culture, urban society. An urbanite, I-T-E, is a person who is a city dweller. To urge, noun also. I urge you to study hard. Dr. Chin urges you to review your vocabulary words, not just study them once, but return to them constantly. Noun, at the urge of someone, he decided to run for office. At the urging would be better. Better. He had an urge, we say in American culture, to eat chocolate or something. An impulse. Urgent. Urgent is a little different. An urgency is the noun. An urgent telephone call, emergency. The situation is urgent. We must act now. Almost emergency. Utilitarian. Having use. It's a branch of, it's a school of philosophy, and probably that's all. Utilitarians, Jeremy Bentham, and British, only the Brits. Utility, usefulness. Can beautiful things have utility, or must they just be aesthetically pleasing and not have utility, usefulness? To utilize, to use. Not, even words, anything, to use. Vacant, empty. A vacant lot has no building on it. A vacant stare into nothingness, dreamy, apparently thinking of nothing.